Monday, we will be in the Alamo Lounge at 10 o'clock with the interim SAPD chief, Jesse Salome. He's going to spend an hour with us. We're going to have a town hall meeting of the airwaves and talk about San Antonio and the department and the issues as he sees them and get some questions for him. Whenever we have questions about, and you can hear that on KTSA at 10 o'clock Monday morning as part of Jack and 60. But when we have questions from time to time on the show about law enforcement, we bring in our next guest, Dr. Willie Ng, formerly SAPD, United States Secret Service, has his own security company, Blue Armor Security. And Doctor, it's great to have you back with us. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to ask you, what's the deal? Because they sound very, they're being made to sound very dramatic. What's the deal with the electric shock gloves that ICE is going to spend $20 million and issue to some of its officers and agents? We're told that these are gloves that give off a low-level sort of sensation that is a deterrent and a non-lethal control. What do you know about them?
Well, I've been keeping my eye on this. I was surprised that they're going to be the first, one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the nation to use them. But I'm familiar with them. I've seen them in action. They seem to be effective, but each time that we see this display of it being used, it's with a person who's just standing there. There's no real physical altercation. And so it's someone standing there and they say, okay, here we go. And they grab them and they zap them and they fall to the ground. But I don't know how it's going to work in the real world, you know, when an officer's having a physical altercation and they got to reach over and push the button on the glove. And what people don't realize is that it has to be on skin. If someone's wearing a long sleeve flannel or jacket, it's not going to work.
Okay.
So it doesn't penetrate anything like the TASER does, right? The TASER will go through fabric, penetrate the skin. So it's going to be interesting to see how useful it is.
This was going to be my next question, was going to be, how does it compare to a TASER? It sounds like it is a few levels below a TASER.
Yes. And again, from a tactical, standpoint, that means you have to be physically touching someone. So you're limiting your space, right? You're not creating distance. You're minimizing you're getting closer to that suspect. Whereas a TASER, you can deploy and still have that distance. That if it doesn't work, you're able to, dispose of it, get rid of it, and grab a firearm or another intermediate weapon. With these gloves, you've got to be up on your suspect and your individual, and you got to be holding on to them. So I don't know. We're going to have to just wait to see how effective this is. I don't know. I'm not excited about it, but we'll see how it works out.
Well, on the one hand, you can see where ICE wants non-lethal means of getting the upper hand or maintaining control of an encounter or a situation, whether it's somebody that they're apprehending or someone who is trying to interfere with their operations, the latter of which has actually been the more dangerous kind of situation. So on the one hand, I could say, well, anything that is not resulting in somebody being shot and killed seems like a improvement, right? But then on the other hand, you can see where the political opposition is going to see this like it's evil and diabolical and something that the villain in a movie would be wearing when he went out to do his nefarious deeds, right? So they're gonna get a lot of ink and a lot of, I would say, propaganda out of this.
Oh, yeah, that happens all the time, right? Especially when, and again, we say this over and over again, don't involve politics and public safety, but they do all the time. They don't like the optics of something, and they're going to complain and fuss because it fits their agenda and their platform. And I kind of just avoid all that and ignore all of that, and I look at, okay, what's this going to do for law enforcement and public safety? We have so many officers that are relying on non-lethal weapons when it's necessary at the time to use deadly force. And I can send you a video later of an individual who is throwing rocks through a patrol vehicle, and you have a female officer chasing him around the patrol car trying to tase him. And then he starts getting these big rocks and he starts throwing them at her. And now he's chasing her around the vehicle and then literally down the street while she has her taser and he's throwing these big boulders at her. Well, you can kill someone, you can die. And so at that point, you should be using deadly force. And she's not. She's using non-lethal weapon. And so again, that concerns me. We have law enforcement now that literally look like Batman, right? They have all these intermediate weapons around their belt because of the politics that people don't like the optics of what policing has to deal with daily. And it's not pretty. And we've had this conversation also. When I first came out in the early 90s, they gave me a baton and a firearm and one pair of handcuffs. And we had less officer-involved shootings then than we do now. But the community and elected officials allowed us to do our job. As ugly as it looked, public safety was controlled better. Now this.
It sounds like what you're saying is that there's a real challenge to doing the job in a way that doesn't look bad visually.
Right. I mean, think about it. When you call the police, it's not because you burned your chicken on the barbecue grill, right? Or you're inviting them over for a cup of tea. You're calling the officers, you're calling law enforcement because there's a criminal issue. There's an issue going on, and you feel that it's beyond the control of a citizen. So therefore, you have to call the authorities to intervene. And so it's not, policing is not pretty. As much as we would love it to be, it's not. That's just not the reality of what we do as law enforcement officers. So again, I think that all these intermediate things are to please the politicians and maybe please the community. But again, it's a dirty job, and unfortunately, it requires the use of force at times.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like your jury is still out on the generated low output voltage emitters, or G.L.O.V.E. But maybe this will be the beginning of a debate or a struggle as to whether or not they're even funded and purchased. In the meantime, maybe we'll see you on Monday morning with the interim chief. I hope you're able to make it, Willie.
I will be there, and that might be a good question to get his opinion on this, and if it's something he would implement for his officers. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you as always. We appreciate having you, Dr. Willie Ng, on the KTSA Quarter Moon Plumbing, AC, Heating Newsmaker line here on the Jack Show on KTSA, where you can